my name is Helene, and today I'm going to do a tag video that I wasn't tagged for, but I wanted to do it, so here I am. Today I'm going to do the A to Z book tag, which was created by Jen Campbell, and I will put the link to her channel down below because she is awesome. She is a writer and a booktuber, and I really admire her. This tag is essentially about going through your books, finding books that go from the letters A to Z in the author's names, so that you have an author starting with the letter A, then the letter B, etc. But basically what I've been trying to do is to find some books that I don't normally talk about on this channel, just because now I had the opportunity to actually talk about these books and I wanted to grab that opportunity and just go with it. So that's enough for the introduction. Let me just start with the tag. Lady Oracle by Margaret Atwood. This is the only book that I have read by Margaret Atwood, and I have forgotten it. I read it so many years ago, and I think I am going to give it a reread, because if I like it still, I will definitely read more by Margaret Atwood. The Elegance of the Hedgehog by Muriel Barbery, who is a French author. This book was amazing. It is told from the perspective of two persons, a very young girl and a kind of old woman, and it's very interesting to see how their languages differ, how their perceptions of the world differ, and that's most of what I can remember about this book, but it's definitely worth a read. The Hours by Michael Cunningham. I haven't read this one, but I have watched the movie and I absolutely loved it, and I meant to buy this book with this specific cover, but I couldn't find it anywhere until one day I found it on my bookshelves, hiding. I don't know how it was hiding, but it was. So I have it now, and I am going to give it a read very soon. It follows 3 women in America, and one of them is supposed to be Virginia Woolf, I think. Last Tales by Isaac Dinesen, who is also known as Karen Blixen, a Danish author who is now dead, and this is some of her last tales. I have read some of them, maybe just one of them, back at university, and I don't remember much from it, so I do plan on reading all of the tales someday soon, and I'm sure it's going to be great. She is a famous author. She also wrote Out of Africa, and I'm sure you know of that one. American Psycho by, why have I forgot? Bret Easton Ellis, of course. This book is horrifying. I read this book some years ago and it is still stuck in my mind because it is gruesome. It is horrifying. This is about Patrick Bateman, who is a 26-year-old man living in New York, and also he is a serial killer. And let me just tell you, this book received a lot of critique when it came out, and some people didn't want for it to be published at all because it was too cruel, and I definitely get why that is. But at the same time, I'm very happy that it was published, because it's kind of fascinating reading this book and knowing that a person out there is able to come up with these very cruel things happening in this book. This book has some unique and epic scenes in it, I have to say. Watching the English by Kate Fox. This is a non-fiction book about English people and their traditions and their cultures and their ways of living. It is very interesting, especially if you like England, which I do. I am an English teacher, and it was very fascinating to read about these traditions and kind of recognizing what is written, because it is true what it says. Basically, Kate Fox has been living in England, and she has done some research for this book where she tries to uncover the life of an Englishman. The official book club selection by Kathy Griffin. I am a huge fan of Kathy Griffin, and I of course had to read her biography. This is a funny take on her life and how she tries to become successful and famous, and the title is based on Oprah Winfrey's book club, because Kathy Griffin very much wanted to become a member of that book club, so she wrote a book with this title. The Art of Fielding by Chad Harbach, a book about baseball and college boys, and that's all you need to know. I liked it. In One Person by John Irving. This is a very interesting book because it deals with transsexuality, and I haven't read a lot of those books. Very interesting read, and also a very beautiful book, I think. You Disappear by Christian Junkersen, another Danish author who has been published internationally. This is about a man who suffers from a tumor that affects his behavior. The book is not about the man per se, it is more about the family and how this tumor affects their family life and their lives in general. The Insufferable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera. I have read 4 of Milan Kundera's books and I have loved each and every one of them. This is his most famous one, I believe. I don't remember too much about the story because, once again, I read it so many years ago during my university years. Not that I'm very old, but it has been about 5 or 6 years since I read it. But I remember loving it, and there is also a movie out based on this book, which I absolutely recommend. I Hunt Killers by Barry Lyga, a young adult book about a boy whose father is a serial killer, but the boy doesn't want to be like his father, but he wants to follow his footsteps in some way. And that's all I can say. It's a very interesting read and a lot of fun. The Lives of Others by Neil Mukherjee, which was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize in 2014. I haven't read it yet, but I am very curious to do so someday. Right now it just stands on my shelves looking pretty, and that's all I can tell you about it. Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, a book that I read recently. I'm sure you know of it. Maybe you haven't read it, but maybe you've watched the movie then. A book about a man who falls in love with a very, very young girl, and we then follow everything from his perspective. It is a very controversial book and also a kind of nasty read, so you need to know that if you would like to pick it up. By the way, I forgot to mention that I have skipped 3 letters, Q, U and X, I believe it is, because I didn't have any books for those and I didn't do my research online, so I'm just going to skip those. Anyway, the next one is A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki. A book that takes place both in Canada as well as in Japan. I think it is Japan. It is basically about a diary of a girl who lives in Japan. And this girl has been through some very horrible things in her life. And then we read about those in her diary. Wonder by R.J. Palacio. This is a young adult, maybe middle grade book about a boy who was born with facial deformity. In this book, his parents want for him to go to public school. So far he has been homeschooled, but now he has to go out into public. Empire Falls by Richard Russo, one of my favorite books of all time. It is a very slow-going book, but then everything starts happening towards the end. I think it is phenomenal. It has also been turned into a mini-series with Helen Hunt. I love that one as well. But basically it is about life in America and things happen in this book. The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. A book about, how could you describe it, a journalist who is being offered to do an interview with a very famous author. However, this author has been lying throughout her career when it comes to interviews. So now she has decided to tell us the truth, and that is the 13th Tale. And of course, I couldn't do this list without including Donna Tartt and The Goldfinch. This is just one of her books that I love, and it is about a boy named Theo who lives in New York with his mother until his mother dies because of a terror attack in New York. This is a coming-of-age story about Theo, and it is basically phenomenal. The Seventh Child by Eric Valeur. This is a crime story, and I'm not much into crime stories, but if you like crime, then maybe this is a book for you. And it is about a children's home, I think, and some mysterious things happening there. I have read it, but as I've said, crime doesn't make too much of an impact on me. Butcher's Crossing by John Williams. This is a western, and that's all you need to know, I think. The Monstrumologist by Rick Yancey, a young adult, very hilarious, funny series. This is the first book about a boy who wants to become a monstrumologist. That means someone who does research on monsters. It is so good, and I definitely recommend that you check it out because it is so good. And the last book is Thérèse Raquin by Émile Zola, another French book. I have hair everywhere. This is about a woman who is married, but then she falls in love with another man. It kind of reminds of Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert, if you've read that book, but at the same time it's not the same book. It is different, so definitely check it out if you like Madame Bovary. And that is it for this book tag. I hope you enjoyed hearing about each and every book. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day, everyone. And by the way, I'm tagging anyone who would like to do this tag, so if you would like to do it, then consider yourself tagged. Happy reading, everyone, and bye bye!